You felt ignored, like you didn't matter. Every text unanswered, every moment cold. And you started to believe the lie that they don't care. But let me tell you something. Avoidance love differently, and just because they don't say it out loud doesn't mean they're not screaming it inside. Today I'm going to show you the signs they do love you, even if they're too scared to admit it. You might not realize it at first, but when someone with an avoidant attachment style stays physically or emotionally close, even in small, subtle ways, it's actually a massive sign of how much they care. The reason this is so often misunderstood is because on the surface, it doesn't look like closeness. It looks like distance. It looks like silence. It looks like they don't care. But that's exactly where the misconception begins. Avoidantly attached people have a deep fear of intimacy. This doesn't mean they don't want connection. It means they were wired, often from early childhood, to see closeness as risky or even dangerous. So when they start to feel love or attachment, their system doesn't scream lean in, it screams protect yourself, back off. But here's the thing, if you still see them orbiting your life in any capacity, that is not accidental. That is effort on their terms. Let's break this down. You text them and they don't always respond. You reach out and they seem emotionally unavailable. But days later, they watch your Instagram story. They send a meme. They bring you coffee out of nowhere. These aren't random or thoughtless gestures. They are their version of connection. Avoidants aren't great at emotional expression. So instead of saying, I miss you, they send you something that reminds them of you instead of calling. They show up when you least expect it. Their love isn't verbal, it's behavioral. Staying close without getting too close is their coping mechanism. They want proximity because they feel something real for you. But they maintain distance because getting too close triggers fear. Fear of being vulnerable, fear of being seen, and ultimately fear of being hurt. It's a balancing act that makes no sense if you're someone who experiences love through openness and communication. But to an avoidant, this dance of distance is the safest way to stay connected. What's important here is recognizing the effort it takes for them to even do that. Watching your story, remembering something you said in passing, asking about your dog. These are their emotional check-ins. These are signs they haven't detached emotionally, even if they can't articulate their feelings. And if you've ever tried to walk away from someone avoidant, truly step back. You might notice that's when they suddenly reach out, they'll pop back into your messages, they'll find some excuse to reconnect. That's because your absence activates their fear of loss. But they won't come back with an I love you or I made a mistake. They'll come back sideways, maybe with a joke, maybe with a favor, maybe just with, hey, it seems small, but it's big. It's how they stay close. What they're really saying in all of these moments is this: I care about you, but I don't know how to show it the way you expect. And if you miss those signs, if you only look for love in the ways you express it, you'll think they don't care at all, but they do. In their own quiet, guarded way, they're showing up. Maybe not in grand romantic gestures, but in present inconsistency, in not letting you go completely. So yes, it can feel like they're ignoring you. It can feel like they don't want you close, but the fact that they're still there, still reaching out in their own language, still finding small ways to stay connected, that proves something powerful. They may be scared, they may be guarded, but they're trying. And for someone with an avoidant attachment style, that's not just affection, that's love. When you're dealing with someone who has an avoidant attachment style, one of the most confusing things is the disconnect between what they say or don't say and what they actually feel. If you're someone who needs verbal reassurance or direct emotional expression, and avoidant silence can feel like rejection. But here's what most people don't realize. Avoidants often express their love through actions, not words. And if you pay attention to what they do, not just what they say, you'll start to see signs of deep emotional investment that might have gone unnoticed. Avoidants struggle with vulnerability. Saying, I love you or I miss you might feel like exposing themselves too much too fast. So instead, they default to showing love in quieter, more practical ways. They'll offer help. They'll fix something that's broken. They'll remember your favorite snack or send you a song that reminds them of you. These acts might seem small, but for an avoidant, they are significant. That's them stepping out of their comfort zone and trying to care for you without having to put their heart fully on the line. Imagine this. You had a rough day, and they don't necessarily sit down and ask how you feel, but later that night they bring you dinner or take care of a task you didn't get to. That's not indifference. It's love translated into action. To them, taking care of you physically or practically feels safer than expressing emotion directly. It's their way of saying, I see you, I care, I've got you, even if the words never leave their mouth. Another key sign is consistency. An avoidant may not be the most emotionally expressive person, but if they keep showing up for you in small but meaningful ways, that's no accident. They don't invest time and energy into people they don't care about. If they're still doing things for you, even if they're not constantly texting or saying sweet things, it's because you matter. They might help you move, fix your car, walk your dog, or support your goals quietly from the background. Those actions may not be romantic in the traditional sense, but they are deeply meaningful when you understand how avoidants operate. In many cases, these actions speak even louder than words, because when an avoidant takes action on your behalf, it's not impulsive, it's intentional. Remember, avoidants are cautious by nature. They don't jump into emotional situations lightly. So when they invest energy into your life, they're doing so because they've decided, consciously or unconsciously, that you're important enough to overcome some of their fear. And here's the real test. Watch how they react when you're not around. Do they check in when you're sick? Do they remember small details you told them weeks ago? Do they do thoughtful things without being asked? These are all ways they silently communicate affection. They might not shower you with compliments or write love letters, but they'll show love by showing up, by making sure your needs are met in the only way they feel safe offering care. It's easy to overlook these gestures if you're expecting love to look loud, verbal, and expressive. But in the world of avoidant attachment, love is quiet. It's cautious. It's more likely to look like taking your car for an oil change than a candlelit dinner. And if you start paying attention to the way they act, rather than what they say or don't say, you might discover they've been showing you love all along. You just didn't know the language. When someone with an avoidant attachment style starts opening up to you even a little, moment. It's a big deal. Avoidants are often mislabeled as cold or emotionally unavailable, but the truth is much deeper. They aren't heartless. They're guarded. Emotionally opening up feels dangerous to them. Vulnerability is a risk. And their default mode is to protect themselves from rejection, disappointment, or loss. So when an avoidant begins to share their inner world with you, even in small fragments, it's actually a strong indicator that you mean something to them. Think about it. People with avoidant tendencies were often raised in environments where emotional expression was discouraged or even punished. They may have learned early on that showing feelings led to discomfort, shame, or being ignored. So as adults, they lean on independence and emotional distance as a way to feel safe, sharing something personal. Anything that reveals fear, sadness, or even affection is an act of vulnerability that takes a lot of internal negotiation for them. That's why you need to pay close attention to those quiet moments where they let their guard down. Maybe it's a story from their childhood. Maybe they open up about stress at work or express doubt about themselves. It might not be poetic or dramatic, but for them it's revealing. They're letting you see the parts of them they usually hide even from themselves. And if they're doing that with you, it's because there's a level of trust forming beneath the surface. That's not casual. That's connection. This kind of openness from an avoidant won't look like a flood of emotions. It'll be more like a leak. Slow, small, and carefully controlled. But those small leaks matter. You might notice them say something like, "I usually don't talk about this," or "I've never told anyone this before." Those phrases are your cue. That's when the wall is lowering. That's when they're testing to see if it's safe to let you in. And here's the thing, they watch your reaction closely. When they do share something personal, they're silently asking, will you judge me? Will you reject me? Will this be used against me later? If you respond with warmth, patience, and non-judgmental, you're reinforcing that safety. And once they feel that safety, even if they never admit it out loud, they start associating you with security. That's when their trust deepens and more of their authentic self begins to come through. You may also notice that after opening up, they retreat again. This is very common. And doesn't mean they've changed their mind or no longer trust you. It's just that vulnerability often leaves avoidance feeling emotionally exposed. And exposure is uncomfortable, so they pull back to regulate themselves. But the fact that they opened up in the first place is the real signal. It shows that their feelings for you are stronger than their fear, at least in that moment. Over time, these moments of openness tend to grow in frequency and depth, especially when met with understanding. And even if progress feels slow, every time they let you see behind the mask, they're making a conscious choice to share something real. That choice is love in action. Not the dramatic, sweeping kind you see in movies, but a quiet, cautious kind that's rooted in trust. So don't dismiss those small moments when they talk about their past, share their fears, or admit their feelings. Those are not random. They are signs that you've cracked through the outer shell and found something real inside. When you're in a relationship or connection with someone who has an avoidant attachment style, one of the most confusing and emotionally draining patterns you'll encounter is the push-pull dynamic. One moment they're warm, attentive, maybe even affectionate, then suddenly they pull away, becoming distant, cold, or unresponsive. To someone unfamiliar with how avoidants operate emotionally, this feels like rejection. It feels like they're losing interest or deciding you're not important. But in reality, this pattern is one of the clearest signs that they do have deep feelings. They just don't know how to manage them. Avoidants fear intimacy, but they also fear losing people they care about. So when they start to get close to someone and real feelings start to develop, they feel emotionally overwhelmed. Closeness triggers anxiety for them, not because they don't like you, but because being emotionally vulnerable feels unsafe. Getting too close makes them feel like they're losing control, and that fear kicks in. Their survival instinct tells them to protect themselves by retreating, creating space, or shutting down emotionally. But here's what's crucial to understand. When an avoidant pulls away, it's not because they've stopped caring. It's because they care so much that their nervous system feels threatened. They're trying to create emotional distance to manage their own fear and vulnerability. It's their internal wiring, not your value, that causes the withdrawal. And if you don't chase them or pressure them during this retreat, something interesting happens. They come back. And when they return, that's the proof. That's the moment that shows their feelings are real. If they didn't care, they wouldn't return. If they weren't emotionally invested, your absence wouldn't matter. But it does matter. And often, after distancing themselves, avoidants start missing the connection. If you respond with anger, clinginess, or pressure, it reinforces their fear of closeness. But if you give them space, stay calm, and hold your emotional ground, you're showing them that connection doesn't have to be dangerous, that emotional intimacy doesn't always mean loss of control. Over time, this builds trust. And as trust builds, the intensity of the push-pull may lessen. So if you've been caught in this back and forth with someone avoidant, don't take the retreat as a sign they don't care. Take their return as the real message. Every time they come back, they're choosing you again despite their fear. And that choice is meaningful It's their way of loving you from within the limits of what feels safe to them. And as hard as it is, that push-pull rhythm isn't proof they don't love you. It's actually how they show that they do. When someone with an avoidant attachment style distances themselves, it's easy to assume they don't care. They go silent. They stop reaching out. Maybe they seem fine without you. From the outside, it can feel cold and confusing, like you never really mattered to them in the first place. But here's what most people miss. If that avoidant person circles back with signs of guilt, regret, or concern after pulling away, it's a clear signal that they do have real feeling. Because avoidants don't show remorse unless someone truly matters to them. Avoidantly attached people often rely on emotional distance as their primary coping mechanism. When emotions run high or intimacy becomes too intense, their instinct is to retreat, to protect themselves from feeling overwhelmed or exposed. So when they go quiet or walk away, they're not necessarily trying to punish you or escape the relationship. More often, they're trying to regulate their own discomfort. But that retreat doesn't mean they're feeling shut off. In fact, once they've created space and calmed their internal system, something else often bubbles to the surface. Guilt. Why? Because in the stillness, they begin to reflect. Avoidants usually need distance before they can process emotional events. During that time, they may start to recognize how their silence or withdrawal affected you. They might remember the look on your face or replay a conversation where you asked for closeness. And they shut down. And if they really care, those memories don't just fade away. They sit with them and they start to feel the weight of their absence. Now, avoidants aren't usually going to come back with a full emotional apology or a deep conversation about their behavior. That level of vulnerability is still uncomfortable for them, but they will show guilt or regret in indirect ways. Maybe they check in unexpectedly. Maybe they say, "I've been thinking about you," or ask how you're doing after days or weeks of silence. They might even apologize lightly. "Sorry, I've been MIA." Not to brush it off, but because that's as much as they can say without feeling too emotionally exposed. These small expressions matter. They're not meaningless. For an avoidant, any form of guilt or recognition of emotional impact is a sign of emotional connection. They might not fully understand why they feel bad about pulling away, but the fact that they feel anything is your evidence that you matter more than their fear. They might offer to help you with something. They might try to reconnect without directly addressing the past. But underneath those actions is this quiet truth. They know they hurt you, and they're trying, however awkwardly, to repair it. And that's what separates someone who's emotionally invested from someone who's indifferent. Indifference has no guilt, no reflection, no effort to make things right. But when an avoidant circles back with signs of remorse, it's a big deal. Because for them, facing emotional discomfort is hard. Admitting they may have caused pain is harder. But they do it not always gracefully, not always directly, because you're not just another person to them. You're someone they actually care about. So don't dismiss those subtle signs, that quiet text, that awkward apology, that sudden offer to help or make things normal again. Those are all avoidant versions of repair attempts. They're proof that despite their fear and emotional limitations, they do feel love. They do care. And most importantly, they're trying, even if they don't know how to say it out loud. If you've ever felt ignored by someone avoidant, listen up. Their silence isn't the absence of love, it's fear. Every small act, every quiet return, every guarded share is them screaming, "I care," in the only way they know how. But love like this needs understanding, not pressure. If you recognize these signs, don't chase. Hold space. Because sometimes the most powerful proof of love is found in the quietest moments. So look closer, learn their language, and don't walk away from real love just because it whispers. Let's get real for a second. You've been there investing your time, your love, your soul into a man who couldn't even see the value of what he had. You gave him everything. You showed up for him in ways he never even had to ask. You cared, you nurtured, you sacrificed. And in return, he treated you like an afterthought. Like you were just there, always available, always present, always willing. And then one day he rejected you, maybe outright, maybe in subtle, cruel ways that chipped away at your confidence, your dignity, your self-worth. And now the pain lingers. The sting of it, the question swirling in your mind, was I not enough? Did he ever even care? Why was it so easy for him to let go? But what if I told you there's one move left to play? A move more, doesn't even notice. He wakes up the next morning, stretches, and takes a deep breath, feeling like the weight of expectations has finally been lifted off his shoulders. No more emotional conversations, no more responsibility for your feelings, no more checking his phone to see if you've texted first. He thinks he's free. He tells himself that he made the right decision, that this is for the best. Maybe even goes out with friends that night, laughing a little too loudly, drinking a little too much, trying to convince himself that he feels good, that life without you is easier, that he doesn't need you, and you're in pain. The silence is unbearable. Every part of you aches to reach out, to send one last message to remind him of what he's walking away from. You keep checking your phone, hoping for some sign that he's regretting his choice, that he misses you, that he realizes what he is losing, but nothing comes. And with every hour that passes, the emptiness feels heavier. You wonder if you ever mattered to him at all. You question your worth. You start to doubt everything. Was it all in your head? Was the connection you felt something he never truly shared? But here's what you don't see, what he doesn't even realize yet. He may feel relief now, but it's temporary. It's an illusion, a trick his mind is playing on him, because right now he's only experiencing the absence of pressure, not the absence of you. He's relieved because he's not being asked to step up, to show up, to acknowledge his feelings. But what he doesn't realize is that the very thing he's trying to escape, the emotional depth, the intimacy, the connection, is the thing that made his life feel whole in the first place in these early days. He's riding on the high of his own ego. He tells himself, you'll come back, that eventually you'll break down. Text him, remind him of how much you care. He's so used to you being there that he assumes you always will be. Even if he doesn't say it out loud, a part of him believes he still has control over this situation, that if he ever changes his mind, if he ever decides he wants you back, you'll be there waiting. And that's where he makes his first mistake, because this time you don't reach out, you don't beg for his attention, you don't send the late night message, you don't ask for closure, you go silent completely. And that's when the shift begins. The first morning without your message doesn't faze him. The second feels normal. The third he barely notices. But then something changes. It's subtle at first. An unexpected pause in his routine. He opens his phone automatically, his fingers hovering over your chat. Before he realizes there's nothing new. He tells himself it's no big deal. You'll text eventually, you always do. But by the 5th, 6th, 7th day of radio silence, something starts to creep in. A feeling he can't quite name. The absence of pressure turns into the absence of presence. And suddenly, the silence he thought he wanted doesn't feel so good anymore. He starts to notice the little things, the moments where you would have checked in, where you would have reminded him of something important, where you would have filled the quiet spaces in his life with warmth, love, and care. And those spaces, now they feel empty. He doesn't acknowledge it yet. He still pretends he's fine. He keeps himself busy, distracted. He goes out more, talks to other people, tries to push away the nagging thought that something feels off. But the silence is starting to echo. It's there when he wakes up in the morning, reaching for his phone, only to realize there's nothing from you. It's there when he's scrolling through social media, subconsciously checking to see if you've posted anything. It's there in the quiet moments between conversations, in the spaces where your voice used to be. And the worst part, he doesn't know what to do about it, because this isn't something he can fix with a quick text or a half-hearted apology. He's starting to realize that this silence isn't an accident. It's not just a temporary pause. It's deliberate. It's a message. And that message, you're done. You're not waiting. You're not chasing. You're not sitting by your phone hoping he'll change his mind. And that's terrifying for him because he was counting on you to always be there, to always care, to always reach out first. But now, for the first time, he has to sit with the reality that you might actually be gone, that this might not be temporary, that the decision he made, the one that felt so easy, so casual, is one he may not be able to undo. So what does he do? At first, nothing, his ego won't let him react. He still tells himself that he's fine, that this is what he wanted. But every day that passes without hearing from you, without seeing you, without feeling your presence in his life, the certainty he once felt starts to crack. And the more it cracks, the more the doubt creeps in. Did he make a mistake? Did he underestimate what you meant to him? Did he lose something he can't get back? And here's the beautiful part. You don't have to do anything. Just keep going. Keep living your life. Keep letting the silence do the work, because right now he thinks he's free. But soon enough, he'll realize he's never been more trapped. Two, the quiet discomfort creeps in. At first, he tells himself, it's nothing, just a small adjustment, a phase. He still believes that you'll text eventually, that this silence is temporary. He thinks he has the upper hand, that he's still in control of the situation. But deep down, something isn't sitting right. It's subtle at first. A tiny nagging discomfort he can't quite shake. Maybe it's the way his mornings feel just a little emptier, how his routine doesn't have that usual notification from you. Maybe it's the way he picks up his phone and hesitates for a second, expecting a message that never comes. At first, he shrugs it off. He goes about his day, distracting himself, keeping busy. He laughs with his friends, watches his favorite shows, even flirts with other women just to remind himself that he's still desirable. But then something shifts. It's in the moments when he's alone, when the noise fades and the distractions aren't enough. That's when the silence gets to him. That's when he starts to realize something feels off. He checks his phone more often now, not because he wants to reach out. No, his pride won't allow that, but because he's looking for proof that you still care. He clicks on your name in his contacts, hovers over your messages, maybe even scrolls through your old conversations, reliving the comfort of your words, your warmth, your presence. And for the first time, a thought creeps into his mind that he never expected. What if she's really moving on? He brushes it off, trying to convince himself that it's impossible. After all, you've always been there. You've always cared. You've always made the first move, right? But the silence is stretching. The longer it lasts, the more uncomfortable he becomes. He starts paying attention to things he never noticed before. Maybe he realizes that his phone feels eerily quiet. Maybe he starts noticing that certain songs, certain places, even certain smells remind him of you. Maybe he sees something, a photo, a memory that makes his chest tighten for just a second, forcing him to acknowledge a truth he doesn't want to face. The problem is, he wasn't prepared for it. He thought walking away from you would be easy. He thought he could forget. He thought you would always be in the background, waiting for him, chasing him, proving your love over and over again. But now you're not there. And suddenly the world feels different. You were never supposed to disappear. He tells himself he's fine, that he's unaffected, that he's still in control. But deep down, he knows he's lying to himself because the silence is growing louder. It's not just an absence anymore. It's a void. And it's starting to eat away at him. And you're doing nothing, absolutely nothing. And that's what's driving him insane. He starts overanalyzing everything. He wonders if you're thinking about him, if you're missing him, if you're hurting as much as he is. And the scariest thought of all, the one he refuses to say out loud, is the possibility that maybe, just maybe, you're doing better without him. That you're not heartbroken, that you're not sitting around waiting for his return, that you're not spending of nights crying over him the way he always assumed you would. That's when the first wave of regret begins to settle in. It's not strong yet. It's just a whisper, a fleeting moment of discomfort, but it's there and it's growing because now he's not just feeling relief. He's feeling curiosity. What are you doing? Why haven't you reached out? Are you thinking about him at all? And worst of all is someone else taking his place. He doesn't have the answers. And that's what makes it so unbearable, because for the first time, he's the one left wondering. He's the one checking his phone, searching for clues, trying to figure out where he stands, the power he once held. It's slipping and he can feel it. And here's the best part. You're not even trying. You're not playing any games. You're not crafting a master plan to make him jealous. You're just living your life. Life moving forward, reclaiming your energy. And that is the most powerful thing you could ever do. Because the truth is, nothing haunts a man more than the idea that he's been forgotten, that he's replaceable, that he wasn't as special as he thought. And as your silence stretches on, he's starting to fear exactly that. So what does he do? He starts testing the waters. Maybe he likes one of your posts just to see if you'll react. Maybe he replies to an old story pretending it's casual. Maybe he even sends a small meaningless text. Hey, hope you're doing well. Not because he truly wants to reconnect, not because he's ready to admit he misses you, but because he wants to see if you still care. And that's where you hold your ground, because this moment, this is where the true shift happens. This is where the power fully transfers to you now. Let me ask you this. Are you ready to make him feel the full weight of your absence? Because the real storm hasn't even started yet. If you're loving this so far, if you're feeling this energy, like this video, and drop number 1 in the comments below. Let me know if you've ever been in this situation where your silence made a man start questioning everything. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe, because trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming next. The best part, we're only just getting started. 3, the habit of checking in begins. He doesn't know when it started, but suddenly checking up on you has become part of his routine. It wasn't intentional. Listen, that's what he tells himself. He's just scrolling mindlessly, moving through his phone. But somehow, without even thinking, his finger hovers over your name. He doesn't open the chat, not yet. He doesn't want to give himself away, but he's looking, wondering. It starts small, a glance at your profile, a quick check to see if you've been active. At first, he convinces himself that it's nothing, just curiosity, but deep down, something else is happening. He's searching for proof that you still care, proof that you haven't moved on, proof that this silence, this deafening, crushing silence means nothing, but every time he checks, the same thing happens. Nothing, no messages, no updates, no signs of life from you. And with every passing day, that emptiness starts to get to him. He expected something different. He thought maybe you'd crack by now, that you'd send a little message, something small, something that would reassure him that he still has you. But the silence keeps stretching, and for the first time, he feels something he never anticipated. Doubt. Maybe he overestimated his importance. Maybe you were stronger than he thought. Maybe you're already moving on. The thought unsettles him. He doesn't like it. So he starts looking for signs. He watches your online status, trying to figure out when you're active. He pays closer attention to your posts, your stories, anything that might give him a hint about what's going on in your life. At first, he's just observing, but soon it turns into a habit. He finds himself checking in on you every day, sometimes multiple times a day, without even realizing he's doing it. And that's when the discomfort starts to shift into frustration, because no matter how much he checks, he's not getting the reaction he wants. If you were to post about how sad you are, how much you miss him, how heartbroken you feel, maybe he'd feel better. Maybe he'd feel in control. But that's not happening. Instead, you're quiet, mysterious, unreachable, and that is driving him insane, because the more he watches, the more he realizes you don't need him anymore, or at least that's what it looks like, and that's something he never thought he'd have to deal with. So he starts overcompensating. He starts posting more, being more active, making sure you see him. Maybe he throws in a cryptic quote, something vague but emotional, just to see if you'll react. Maybe he posts a picture looking unbothered, pretending he's having the time of his life. Maybe he even shows interest in someone new, hoping it will get your attention. But deep down, he knows he's doing all of this for you. And the worst part, it's not working, because while he's watching you, searching for any sign of weakness, all he sees is silence, a void where you used to be. And the longer that void stretches, the more it messes with his head. He thought he had time, he thought he had control, but now he's not so sure. And that's when the real questions start creeping in. Did he make a mistake? Did he misjudge you? Did he just lose something that he can't get back? But still, his pride won't let him reach out. Not yet. He's not ready to admit that he's feeling anything. So instead, he keeps checking, watching, waiting for you to break, waiting for a sign that he still matters, waiting for the moment when you prove to him that he still holds a place in your life. But what he doesn't realize is this: he's the one who's breaking, because you've already let go. You're not waiting for him. You're not playing games. You're not trying to prove anything. You're just gone. And that absence, that still it's suffocating him, and he doesn't even know what to do about it. For the frustration with new connections, he thought replacing you would be easy. He assumed that if he just surrounded himself with new people, if he distracted himself with someone else, he'd move on effortlessly. He was wrong at first. It felt like freedom. No expectations, no deep emotional investment, just light, easy conversations that didn't demand anything from him. Maybe he went on a few dates, entertained the idea of a new romance, convinced himself that meeting someone new would make him forget you. But what he didn't realize was that not all connections are created equal. He thought he could simply swap you out for someone else. But reality has a cruel way of setting in no matter how much he tries, no matter how many new faces he surrounds himself with. Something feels off. It starts as a subtle dissatisfaction. The conversations feel forced. The laughter doesn't come as easily. The chemistry he expected to feel just isn't there. He brushes it off at first, tells him that it's just because it's new, that he just needs time to adjust. But as time passes, that feeling doesn't go away. It grows. He finds himself comparing the way she talks, the way she reacts to his jokes, the way she listens. It's all measured against you. And no matter how much he wants to ignore it, no one measures up. He doesn't want to admit it. But every time he looks at someone new, he's searching for pieces of you in them, the way you used to understand him, without him having to explain, the way you noticed the little things he liked, the way you made him feel seen in a way no one else ever has. And now every new connection feels shallow. He catches himself getting annoyed at things that wouldn't have bothered him before. Maybe she doesn't get his references the way he did. Maybe her responses feel too generic, lacking the depth he wants, took for granted with you. Maybe he just doesn't feel that spark, the effortless ease, the natural comfort that made being with you feel like home. And the more he tries to force it, the more frustrated he becomes. He didn't expect this. He didn't think that losing you would mean losing something irreplaceable. But now it's hitting him like a slow-burning realization that won't let go. He tries harder to push past it. Maybe he forces himself to be more engaged, to act like he's happy, to convince himself that this new person is good enough. But it doesn't work because every time he laughs, it feels hollow. Every time he tells a story, it doesn't land the same way. Every time he reaches out for comfort, he realizes that no one else knows him the way you did. And through the worst part, he's starting to realize that the problem isn't with these new people, it's with him. Because he wasn't ready to replace you. Because deep down, he doesn't want to replace you. Because even though he thought moving on would be effortless, he's now coming face to face with a truth he was to feel your presence. It's in the laughter of a group setting where he suddenly realizes that no one makes him laugh quite the way you did. It's in the way certain songs feel heavier now, in the way familiar places seem emptier, in the way even the air feels different without you. In his world, he thought time would make it easier. He thought distance would make him forget. But instead, time is turning against him. Distance is making you feel more significant because the further you drift away, the more he realizes how deeply embedded you were in his life, how much of himself he unknowingly built around you. The regret doesn't just come from missing you. It comes from understanding that he took something for granted that he never should have. He remembers the moments when you were always there, the times when he was at his worst and you stayed, the days when he was distant, distracted, careless, and yet you still gave him your energy, your attention, your love. He sees it all now. How much effort you put in, how much you cared, how much you made him feel safe, even when he barely acknowledged it. And now as those memories replay in his mind, there's one terrifying thought that he can't escape. He didn't just lose someone who loved him. He lost someone who genuinely understood him. The way you talked, the way you smiled, the way you made even the most ordinary days feel special are now ghosts that follow him everywhere he catches himself wanting to send you a message, just to say something, just to feel that familiar connection again. But he doesn't. Not yet. His ego won't let him. He tells himself that reaching out would be weak, that he needs to hold his ground, that you'll eventually break the silence first. But deep down, he knows the truth. You won't, because this time you're gone. And that is what scares him the most. The regret isn't just about losing you. It's about knowing that he had something rare, something real, and he threw it away, thinking it would always be there. He realizes now that he was wrong, that people like you don't come around twice. That he can go out and meet new people, distract himself as much as he wants, but no one will ever be you. And now for the first time he's afraid that he waited too long, afraid that he underestimated your strength, afraid that while he was busy convincing himself that he was better off without you, you were actually moving on. And the worst part, he doesn't know what to do about it because the regret has settled in deep in his bones, but he's not sure if he still has a place in your life. He's no longer the one in control. He's no longer the one calling the shots. And the thought of that is unbearable. But he also knows one thing for sure, this feeling, it's not going away. Not today, not tomorrow, not anytime soon, because once regret like this takes root, it only grows stronger. And now he has no choice but to sit with it, to feel it, to face the consequences of what he let slip away. 6, the desperate reach out. He thought he could handle it. He thought he could suppress the nagging thoughts, the endless what ifs, the creeping realization that maybe, just maybe, he made a mistake. He convinced himself that the silence was nothing, that it didn't mean anything, that it wasn't affecting him. But now he can't lie to himself anymore. The silence is suffocating him. It's consuming him. And every day that passes without a sign from you is another day where the weight of regret gets heavier on his chest. At first, he resists the urge to reach out. His pride still whispers in his ear, telling him to hold his ground, to wait for you to break first. But the days keep slipping by and you remain a ghost in his world, untouchable, distant, unknowable, and it's driving him mad. So he starts testing the waters. Maybe he accidentally likes an old post of yours. Maybe he leaves a vague, indirect comment on something just to see if you'll respond. Maybe he posts something cryptic on his own page, hoping you'll read between the lines. But when you don't react, when you remain as quiet and unbothered as ever, he feels a surge of frustration mixed with panic. He doesn't understand. You were always the one who cared more, the one who reached out, the one who made things right. Why aren't you doing it now? What changed? And more importantly, what if? You've moved on that thought alone sends a chill down his spine. The idea that someone else might be getting the attention that once belonged to him. That another man might be experiencing the warmth of your presence, your laughter, your affection. It's unbearable. And suddenly his hesitation vanishes. He can't take it anymore. He has to reach out. So he does. Maybe it's a simple, hey, maybe it's a late night, half-drunk, regret-soaked message saying, I miss you. Maybe it's an attempt at nonchalance. Just wanted to see how you've been. But make no mistake, he's feeling the desperation behind every word. And when he finally hits send, when his message is out there in the world, his heart pounds in a way he hasn't felt in a long time. Because now for the first time since he walked away, he's the one waiting for a reply. He watches his phone, his breath catching every time the screen lights up. He checks to see if you've read it, if you've typed something, if you've even acknowledged his existence. And the longer the silence stretches, the more it eats away at him. Because suddenly he's the one experiencing the fear of being ignored. He's the one wondering if you're busy, if you've seen his message and decided not to answer. If you're with someone else and too wrapped up in your new life to care about his return. And here's where your power reaches its peak, because in this moment, you have all the control. You can respond, or you can leave him in the same silence he thought he could handle. You can make him wait. Let him feel the agony of uncertainty. Let him experience what it's like to be on the receiving end of doubt. And whether you choose to answer or not one thing is clear. He's no longer the one in control of this story. His regret has turned into something else now. Fear that he waited too long, fear that he underestimated your strength, fear that this silence, this distance, this void between you isn't just a phase, it's permanent. He didn't expect this. He didn't think you would be the one to walk away for good. And yet here he is, holding his phone, waiting, hoping, realizing that he no longer has access to you the way he once did, and that realization is breaking him in ways he never saw. Coming at this part of the video hit home for you. If you've ever experienced this exact moment where a man who thought he could live without you came crawling back, then go ahead and like this video and drop number F in the comments. I want to hear your stories. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe, because trust me, the final part of this journey is going to be the most powerful one yet. We're about to dive into the part where he has to face the full weight of his own regret. And if you get to decide whether he deserves another chance or if you'll let him drown in the silence he once created. 7, the unavoidable regret Regret is a slow poison. It doesn't hit like a thunderclap. It seeps in little by little like a quiet storm building strength before it unleashes its full fury. He thought reaching out to you would bring relief. He thought once he sent that message, once he broke the silence, things would shift back into his favor. But what he didn't expect, what he never prepared for, was the possibility that you wouldn't respond, that you would let him sit in the silence he once dismissed so easily, that you would do to him exactly what he did to you. And now he's spiraling. He stares at his phone, rereading his own words, wondering if he said the right thing. Maybe he sent something too casual, too indifferent, when what he really wanted to say was so much more. Maybe he played it too safe, assuming you would jump at the chance to talk again, but you didn't. And that realization hits him harder than he ever expected. He tries to justify it to himself. Maybe you're busy. Maybe you didn't see it. Maybe you're just waiting a little longer before you respond. But as the hours stretch into days, as the silence thickens, his confidence begins to crack. His thoughts begin to race. What if this is it? What if he lost you for good? What if while he was playing games, assuming you would always be there, you actually moved on? That thought alone is enough to make his stomach turn, because until now, even with all the doubt creeping in, he still believed he had some sort of power, some kind of unspoken hold over you. But this silence, it's telling him something different. It's telling him that the woman who once adored him, who once made him feel like the center of her world, doesn't need him anymore. And that's when the real regret kicks in. It's not just missing you. It's not just wanting to hear your voice again. It's the knowing that he had something real, something rare, something that most people spend their whole lives searching for, and he threw it away. He starts replaying everything in his mind, the moments when you showed him love. And he didn't appreciate it, the times when he had the chance to make you feel valued, but he chose distance instead. The nights when he ignored your messages, thinking he had all the time in the world to respond later. And now he would give anything just to see your name light up on his screen again. The weight of it becomes unbearable. He can't focus. He can't distract himself the way he used to. The things that once brought him comfort feel hollow. Now he goes out, he talks to people, but nothing feels right. Nothing fills the space that you left behind. He realizes that no amount of temporary attention, no amount of shallow conversations can replace the depth, the warmth, the authenticity of what he had with you. So he starts searching for ways to fix it. He thinks about sending another message, something longer. This time, something more heartfelt. What does he even say? I miss you. I made a mistake. Please talk to me. Nothing seems enough. Nothing seems right, because deep down he knows there are no words that can undo what he did. So now the regret turns into something else, panic, because the longer this silence stretches, the more real it becomes. He starts to wonder if you've met someone else. If another man has stepped into the space he so carelessly left open. If someone else is now the one making you smile, making you laugh, making you feel special in ways he never fully did. And that thought is unbearable. So he does what desperate men do. He tries to pull you back. Maybe it's a phone call, an attempt to hear your voice one last time. Maybe he shows up where he knows you'll be hoping for a run-in that looks accidental but isn't. Maybe he sends a longer message, pouring out the emotions he never had the courage to say before. But the truth, it's too late. Because while he was figuring out his feelings, while he was wrestling with his own regret, you were healing, you were rediscovering your worth, you were stepping into your power, and now you're no longer waiting. And that is the lesson he will have to live with. The woman who once loved him with her whole heart is no longer available to him. The silence he once thought was meaningless has now become his greatest nightmare. And no matter what he does, no matter how hard he tries, he can't undo the past. That is the true weight of regret. Not just losing someone, but knowing they're never coming back. And now here you are, stronger, wiser, more powerful than you ever thought you could be. You've done the hardest thing a woman can do. You walked away, not because you wanted to, but because you had to. You chose yourself over the endless cycle of waiting, of hoping, of giving, and receiving nothing in return. You let the silence speak for you, and in that silence, you found your strength. And he's finally seeing what he lost. Not just a woman, not just a relationship, but something far greater, the kind of love that doesn't come twice. He will spend days, weeks, maybe even months, trying to make sense of what happened, trying to figure out how he let something so valuable slip through his fingers. He will play out scenarios in his mind where he did things differently, where he chose you instead of his pride, where he held on instead of pushing you away. But none of that will change the truth. He made his choice, and now he has to live with it. The regret, the emptiness, the longing for something he can never fully reclaim. That is his reality now. And you're free. Free from the weight of wondering, of waiting, of questioning your worth. You no longer need his validation, his attention, his approval, because the moment you let the silence do its work, you reclaimed your power. And now, as he drowns in the consequences of his own decisions, you walk forward confident, radiant, untouchable, because you were never just an option. You were the one, and now he knows it. Let's talk about silence. Not the peaceful kind, not the kind you need when you're reading a book or watching the sunset. We're talking about the kind of silence that creates distance. The silence that builds walls between you and the people who matter most. The silence that hurts more than you realize. Your decision to stay silent is still a decision, and whether you realize it or not, your silence speaks volume. It's easy to assume that saying nothing means you're staying neutral, avoiding conflict, or keeping the peace. But here's the reality. Silence is not neutral. It has weight. It has impact. It sends a message just as much as speaking does, and often that message is not what you intended. Think about it. Have you ever texted someone something vulnerable? Maybe you shared good news, maybe you opened up about something personal, and they didn't respond. Even if they meant no harm, their silence sent a message. It made you question yourself. It made you wonder if you had said too much, if they cared, if you mattered. That feeling of uncertainty, that's what silence creates. It fills the space with doubt. Now imagine someone close to you is struggling. Maybe they're feeling overwhelmed. Maybe they're going through something difficult. And you notice, but you don't say anything. Not because you don't care, but because you don't know what to say. Maybe you're afraid of saying the wrong thing. Maybe you assume they already know you care. But to them, your silence doesn't come across as thoughtfulness. It comes across as indifference. And that hurts more than you think. We've all been on the receiving end of silence, and we've all given it at some point too. The problem is that we often underestimate its impact. We think that by not saying anything, we're avoiding making things worse, but in many cases, silence is what makes things worse. It leaves too much room for misinterpretation. It makes people feel unseen, unheard, and unimportant. Relationships, whether personal or professional, thrive on communication. When you withhold your words, whether out of fear, hesitation, or indifference, the longer you stay silent, the wider that distance grows. Picture this. You're at work, and you have a colleague who has been putting in extra effort. They're showing up early, staying late, going the extra mile, but no one acknowledges it. No one says, "Hey, I see how hard you're working." How long do you think they'll stay motivated? How long before they start to feel invisible? Now imagine the difference it would make if just one person spoke up and recognized their efforts. A simple "I appreciate what you do" can change everything. The same applies in friendships, family dynamics, and romantic relationships. If someone in your life is doing something that makes a difference, supporting you, showing up for you, making your life better, don't assume they know you appreciate them. Tell them. Because silence doesn't confirm love, gratitude, or care. Words do. Silence also plays a role in personal growth. Have you ever had an idea, a thought, or an opinion that you kept to yourself because you were afraid of judgment? Maybe in a meeting you had something valuable to contribute, but you hesitated, and the moment passed. Maybe in a conversation you had a perspective that could have changed someone's thinking, but you held back. Every time you silence yourself, you shrink. And over time, that pattern makes you believe your voice does, but it does. Here's the truth. Silence is not the absence of a response. It is a response. And more often than not, it's the wrong one. When people don't hear from you, they don't assume the best. They assume you don't care. They assume they're alone. They assume their efforts don't matter. And those assumptions create wounds that you may not even realize you've caused. The good news? You can change this. You can start speaking up in the moments that matter. You don't have to wait for the perfect words, the perfect timing, or the perfect confidence. Just say something. Even if it's imperfect, even if it's messy, a simple "I see you, I appreciate you," or "I'm here for you" is often enough. So today I want you to think about the moments where you've stayed silent, where you could have said something but didn't? And I want you to ask yourself, what message did my silence send? And more importantly, what message do I want to send instead? Because the words you choose to say or not say are shaping the world around you. Make sure they're creating the impact you intend. We often assume that staying silent is a neutral act, that it doesn't do harm because we're simply choosing not to engage. But the reality is, avoidance doesn't make problems disappear, it makes them worse. When we don't speak up, we create a vacuum, and that vacuum doesn't stay empty for long. Instead, it gets filled with assumptions, misunderstandings, and unspoken tensions that can quietly erode relationships, trust, and opportunities. Think about it. Have you ever texted someone and they didn't respond? What was the first thought that popped into your head? Did you assume they were busy? Or did your mind start spinning through all the worst possibilities? Did you wonder if they were upset with you? Did you question if you had said something wrong? Silence has a way of making us second guess ourselves. It creates uncertainty, and uncertainty breeds insecurity. Now let's take this a step further. Imagine a workplace scenario where a team is working on a big project. There's an issue, maybe a mistake in the plan, maybe a problem with execution, but no one speaks up. Everyone assumes someone else will address it. The deadline comes, the issue explodes, and now it's too late. Everyone looks at each other in frustration, wondering why no one said anything sooner. But the truth is, everyone noticed. They just didn't want to be the one to start the conversation. This happens in organizations all the time. Small issues that could have been fixed early grow into massive problems because people are afraid to raise their voices. Avoidance doesn't just cause professional problems, it deeply impacts personal relationships too. Have you ever felt distance growing between you and someone you care about, but instead of addressing it, you just let it happen? Maybe a friend stopped calling as much. Maybe a loved one seemed distant. Instead of asking, hey, is everything okay? You told yourself maybe they just need space. Or worse, maybe I did something wrong and they don't want to talk to me. Instead of clearing the air, silence creates more silence. Eventually, that relationship that once felt close now feels like a stranger you used to know. And the heartbreaking part, many of these relationships don't fall apart because of a huge fight. They fall apart because of what wasn't said. One of the biggest dangers of avoidance is that it allows people to create their own narratives. When someone doesn't hear from you, they don't assume you're just busy. They assume you don't care. When you don't address an issue, people assume you're okay with it. When you don't speak up for yourself, others assume you're fine with being overlooked. Your silence gives people permission to make assumptions, and those assumptions are rarely in your favor. It's easy to think that keeping quiet is a way of keeping the peace. But peace that comes from avoiding hard conversations is not real peace. It's just postponing the inevitable. Sooner or later, unspoken words find a way to surface, whether through resentment, frustration, or the complete breakdown of communication. If you've ever avoided saying something because you didn't want to hurt someone's feelings, consider this. Honesty, even when uncomfortable, is a form of respect. It says, I care enough about you to be real with you. Holding things in doesn't protect people, it isolates them. It leaves them in the dark, trying to navigate a situation without all the information. That's not kindness. That's avoidance disguised as kindness. Speaking up doesn't mean being harsh, rude, or confrontational. It means being willing to engage in conversations that bring clarity and understanding. It means being brave enough to express your thoughts even when it feels uncomfortable. It means recognizing that silence isn't always golden. Sometimes it's destructive. If you're hesitating to reach out to someone, ask yourself, am I avoiding this because I truly believe silence is the best option? Or am I just afraid of the conversation? If fear is the reason, then that's exactly why you need to speak up. Because discomfort is temporary, but the damage that silence causes can last forever. Growth requires difficult conversations. It's one of those truths that we all know deep down, yet we resist it. Every single time we avoid the tough conversations because they make us uncomfortable, we convince ourselves that if we ignore a problem long enough, it will magically resolve itself. But that's not how life works. That's not how relationships, careers, or personal development work. Growth, real, lasting, meaningful growth, demands that we step into the discomfort of difficult conversations. Think about the moments in your life when you truly grew as a person. Was it when everything was easy? Or was it when you faced something challenging, something that forced you to think differently, to take responsibility, to push beyond your comfort zone? If you're honest with yourself, you know it was the latter. And nothing pushes us into growth quite like those hard conversations, the ones that make our palms sweat, our hearts race, and our minds scream, maybe I should just let this go. But here's what most people don't realize. Avoiding a hard conversation doesn't make the problem disappear. It just buries it deeper. The resentment builds, the misunderstanding lingers, the unspoken words start weighing on you, and eventually, that silence creates a bigger mess than the conversation ever would have. Think about it. How many friendships have faded away, not because of some massive betrayal, but because something went unsaid? How many workplace conflicts could have been solved with a simple, direct conversation? How many family relationships have become strained because nobody wanted to address the elephant in the room? Silence may feel like the safer option in the moment, but in the long run, it almost always causes more damage. Truth is, growth isn't just about improving yourself. It's about improving the way you connect with others. And the way you connect with others is determined by your willingness to have honest, sometimes uncomfortable conversations. Whether it's setting boundaries, asking for what you need, giving feedback, or addressing an issue before it becomes a bigger problem, these conversations are the foundation of strong, healthy relationships. Now, I get it. Difficult conversations are hard for a reason. Maybe you're afraid of hurting someone's feelings. Maybe you don't want to come across as confrontational. Maybe you just don't know how to put your thoughts into words. But let's be clear. Speaking up doesn't mean you have to be rude, aggressive, or harsh. It just means you have to be honest. You have to be clear. You have to be willing to communicate instead of hoping that people can read your mind. Now, here's the kicker. Most people would rather hear the truth, even if it's uncomfortable, than be left wondering what went wrong. Think about it. Would you rather have someone tell you directly that something isn't working, or would you rather be left guessing why they're suddenly distant, why the energy shifted, why something just feels off? Nobody likes being on the receiving end of silence. So why do we put others through it? It's time to flip the script. It's time to start seeing difficult conversations as opportunities instead of obstacles. Every time you have the courage to speak up, you're not just addressing a problem. You're proving to yourself that you are capable of handling discomfort. You're strengthening your ability to navigate conflict. You're deepening your connections with the people around you. And here's something else to consider. Difficult conversations don't just help you grow, they help others grow too. When you tell a friend that their behavior is hurting you, you give them the chance to change. When you give honest feedback at work, you help someone improve. When you set boundaries, you teach people how to respect you. These conversations might feel uncomfortable in the moment, but they pave the way for stronger, healthier, more authentic relationships in the long run. So if you've been putting off a difficult conversation, ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? Are you afraid of hurting someone's feelings, or are you afraid of confrontation? Are you worried about making things awkward, or are you worried about stepping outside your comfort zone? More often than not, our fear isn't really about the conversation itself. It's about what the conversation will require us to face within ourselves. But growth comes from doing the things that scare us. It comes from stepping up instead of backing down. It comes from understanding that discomfort is temporary, but the impact of speaking up can last a lifetime. So stop waiting for the perfect words. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Just start. Speak with kindness, speak with clarity, speak with the intention of growth, not just for yourself, but for everyone involved. If you want to grow, if you want your relationships to grow, then difficult conversations are not optional. They are necessary. Your voice has power. It's easy to forget that. Most of us go through life underestimating the impact of our words. We assume that what we say or don't say doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But the truth is, words shape relationships, decisions, and even destinies. The conversations you have or avoid can change the course of someone's life in ways you may never fully realize. Think about the last time someone's words made a difference in your life. Maybe it was a simple compliment that lifted your spirits on a bad day. Maybe it was an honest conversation that helped you see things differently. Or maybe it was something much bigger, a teacher who told you that you had potential, a friend who encouraged you to take a risk, or a mentor who pushed you to believe in yourself when you didn't. Those words mattered. Those words stuck with you. And if their words had power, why wouldn't yours? The problem is most of us hesitate to speak up. We assume people already know how we feel. We convince ourselves that our words won't change anything. We stay silent because we don't want to make things awkward, or because we fear saying the wrong thing. But in doing so, we miss opportunities to connect, to support, and to inspire. Imagine a friend going through a tough time. They seem distant, a little off. You notice, but you don't say anything. You tell yourself if they wanted to talk, they'd say something. But what if they're waiting for someone to notice? What if they're hoping that someone will care enough to ask? Your voice, just a simple, "Hey, are you okay?" could be the thing that lets them know they're not alone. Or think about the workplace. How often do people hold back their ideas in meetings because they don't think their input is valuable? How often do employees struggle in silence because they are afraid to ask for help? When people don't use their voices, companies don't innovate, teams don't grow, and individuals don't reach their full potential. But when one person speaks up, it gives others permission to do the same. It creates an environment where honesty, creativity, and collaboration thrive. Then there's the personal side of things, our relationships with the people we love. We assume our partner knows we appreciate them. We assume our parents know we're grateful. We assume our friends know we care. But assumptions are dangerous because life moves fast, and unspoken words can quickly turn into regret. Think about the last time you wished someone had said something to you. Maybe you needed encouragement but didn't get it. Maybe you wanted clarity but were met with silence. Maybe you longed for someone to say, "I'm proud of you," or "I love you," but the words never came. That feeling, that doubt, that uncertainty, that's what others feel when we hold back what needs to be said. And it's not just about expressing love or encouragement, it's also about honesty. Too many relationships break down not because of big betrayals, but because of small, unspoken frustrations that pile up over time. When we don't address issues, when we don't express our needs, resentment grows. What could have been a simple conversation turns into an emotional wall that gets harder to break down the longer it stands. So what's stopping you? Why are you holding back? If fear of saying the wrong thing is keeping you silent, remember this: an imperfect conversation is always better than no conversation at all. People won't always remember exactly what you said, but they will remember that you cared enough to say something. If there's someone in your life who needs to hear your words, don't wait. If there's something you've been meaning to say, don't let fear keep you silent. Your voice has the power to encourage, to comfort, to heal, to strengthen, but only if you use it. Silence can be comforting, but it can also be destructive. There's a kind of silence that doesn't bring peace. It creates distance. It's the kind that makes people feel unseen, unvalued, and even unloved. When we think about causing harm, we often imagine direct actions, harsh words, broken promises, betrayal. But what if I told you that sometimes the most painful thing you can do to someone isn't yelling at them, criticizing them, or even arguing with them? It's ignoring them. Neglect doesn't always come in loud, obvious ways. It often sneaks in through silence. When someone reaches out to you and you don't respond, it sends a message. When someone is struggling and you don't check in, it sends a message. When you avoid difficult conversations, even when they're necessary, it sends a message. That message isn't always what you intend it to be, but it's received loud and clear. Silence, when it replaces the words that need to be spoken, doesn't just leave gaps, it creates wounds. Think about relationships, whether it's family, friendships, or romantic connections. Communication is what keeps them alive. Imagine a plant. It needs water to grow. It needs sunlight to thrive. But if you stop watering it, if you deprive it of the things it needs, it doesn't die overnight. It wilts slowly. It becomes weak. Eventually, it crumbles. Relationships work the same way. They don't fall apart instantly. They fade little by little when words of love, reassurance, and understanding are withheld. You might assume that people already know how you feel. You might think they understand that you care, that you appreciate them, that you respect them. But human beings need reminders. A simple "I appreciate you" can change someone's day. A short "I'm thinking of you" can remind someone they're not alone. And yet, we hesitate. We assume they don't need to hear it. We get caught up in our own thoughts, our own lives, and forget that just because something is obvious to us doesn't mean it's obvious to someone else. Avoiding difficult conversations is another way silence can be harmful. So many conflicts, so many misunderstandings, and so much unnecessary pain could be avoided if people simply spoke up when something felt off. But instead, we stay quiet. We hope things will resolve on their own. We tell ourselves it's not a big deal, or I don't want to make things worse. But let's be honest. Has avoiding a problem ever truly made it go away? Ignoring issues doesn't solve them. It lets them fester. What starts as a small miscommunication turns into a grudge. What could have been a short, honest conversation turns into months or years of unresolved tension. And then there's another kind of silence, the kind we direct toward ourselves. When we ignore our own needs, when we refuse to ask for help, when we don't express our feelings, we suffer in ways that aren't always visible. We assume people should just know what we're going through. We wait for someone to notice that we're struggling. But people aren't mind readers. No one can understand what you need if you don't tell them. Asking for support isn't a weakness. Speaking your truth isn't a burden. It's necessary. So what do? We break the pattern. We stop assuming. We stop waiting for the perfect moment to say what needs to be said. If someone is important to you, tell them. If you're grateful for someone, show them. If something is bothering you, address it. It might feel uncomfortable at first, it might feel vulnerable, but real connections aren't built on what's easy. They're built on honesty, effort, and the willingness to show up, even when it's hard. Because the greatest regrets often come from the words we never said, the apology we never made, the love we never expressed, the truth we never spoke, the check-in we never did, and the moment we lost because we thought we had more time. Don't let silence be the reason someone feels unseen. Don't let it be the reason a relationship fades. Don't let it be the reason you carry unspoken pain. Your words have power. Use them before it's too late. Speaking up is not something you're born knowing how to do. It's a skill you develop. It's just like any other ability. The more you practice, the better you get. But here's the catch. Most people avoid practicing it because it feels uncomfortable. And that discomfort is what holds them back from growth, from deeper connections, and from living a life where they truly express themselves. Too often, we think that speaking up requires confidence. We assume that only naturally outspoken people, leaders, or extroverts have the ability to say what's on their minds with ease. But the truth is, confidence doesn't come before action. It comes because of action. If you wait until you feel ready to speak up, you'll be waiting forever. Readiness isn't what makes people communicate their needs, set boundaries, or share their opinions. Courage is. Think about any skill you've ever learned. Maybe it was riding a bike, maybe it was playing an instrument or learning a new language. At first you were awkward, you made mistakes, you felt unsure, but with repetition you got better. Speaking up works the same way. The more you do it, the less terrifying it feels. You realize that your voice matters, that what you say has an impact, and that impact isn't just on you, it's on the people around you. Now let's talk about the cost of not speaking up. Imagine you have a great idea at work, but you stay silent because you're afraid of what others might think. Later, someone else suggests something similar and they get all the credit. Or maybe you're in a relationship and there's something that's been bothering you for weeks, but you avoid the conversation because you don't want to create tension. The problem doesn't go away. Instead, it builds, and that unspoken frustration slowly erodes the connection between you and the other person. This happens all the time. People suppress their thoughts, their needs, their feelings, believing that silence is the easier path. But silence is rarely easy. It's just delayed difficulty. The problem doesn't disappear. It lingers, grows, and eventually explodes in a way that's far messier than if it had been addressed earlier. If speaking up is a skill, then how do you practice it? You start small. You push yourself in moments where you typically shrink back. The next time someone asks for opinions in a meeting, raise your hand. The next time a friend asks how you're doing, answer honestly. If something bothers you, address it before it turns into resentment. If you appreciate someone, tell them. If you need help, ask for it. A lot of people avoid speaking up because they think it means being confrontational or aggressive. But that's not true at all. Speaking up doesn't mean you have to be loud or forceful. It means you're clear. It means you're intentional with your words. It means you respect yourself enough to communicate what's on your mind instead of expecting others to just figure it out. The reality is nobody can read your mind. People don't always know what you need unless you tell them. They don't always know how you feel unless you express it. And they don't always know what you think unless you say it. When you stay silent, you leave room for misunderstandings, for assumptions, for people to draw their own conclusions, and more often than not, those conclusions are incorrect. Your words create clarity. They create understanding. They create deeper relationships, stronger trust, and greater opportunities. But you only get those benefits if you're willing to use your voice. So don't wait until you feel fearless. Don't wait until the perfect words come to mind. Don't wait for the right time, because the right time is now. Have you ever met someone who walks into a room and instantly grabs attention, not because they're loud, flashy, or trying too hard, but because there's something about them that feels effortlessly magnetic? That's silent attractiveness. It's not about being the center of attention. It's about commanding respect and admiration without saying much. It's a kind of energy, calm, composed, and deeply self-assured good that draws people in naturally. Being silently attractive doesn't require perfect looks or grand gestures. It comes from how you carry yourself, how you treat others, and how comfortable you are in your own skin. It's about mastering habits that speak louder than words, habits that project confidence, kindness, and self-respect without demanding attention. And here's the best part. You don't have to change who you are to cultivate this kind of presence. You just have to become more aligned with your best self. In this episode, we'll uncover 11 socially attractive habits inspired by Stoic wisdom. These aren't gimmicks or quick fixes. They're timeless principles that help you build inner strength, emotional intelligence, and a quiet confidence that makes people respect and admire you without you even trying. We're talking about embracing independence, mastering silent elegance, cultivating wisdom, and becoming someone whose presence alone leaves a lasting impression. By the end of this episode, you'll realize that true attractiveness isn't something you chase. It's something you cultivate from within. It's quiet, it's steady, and once you master it, you'll see how powerful it can be in transforming not just how others see you, but how you see yourself. So let's get started, because becoming silently attractive isn't about making noise. It's about making an impact without needing to shout. Habit 1, embrace your authentic independence. There's a certain power in those who don't need others to validate their worth, a quiet strength that's impossible to ignore. Authentic independence isn't about closing yourself off or proving you don't need anyone. It's about living life on your terms, being guided by your own values, and finding fulfillment in who you are, not in how others perceive you. This kind of independence is magnetic because it sends a clear, unspoken message. I respect myself, and I don't need external approval to feel whole. People are naturally drawn to those who stand strong in their individuality. In a world where so many are caught up in chasing validation, authentic independence is rare, it's refreshing, it's inspiring. When you're truly independent, you're not trying to keep up with anyone. You're focused on your own path, your own progress, and that quiet focus speaks louder than any words ever could. You don't have to tell people you're confident, they'll feel it. You don't have to announce that you're in control of your life. It'll show in the way you carry yourself, in your calm presence, and in your unshakable demeanor. But let's be real. Independence isn't easy. It means trusting yourself when no one's cheering you on. It means standing by your choices even when they're unpopular. It's about learning to enjoy your own company, not because you're avoiding others, but because you genuinely find peace within yourself. And when you reach that point, when you stop needing external noise to feel whole, you become someone others respect, admire, and are quietly drawn to. Authentic independence is the opposite of arrogance. It doesn't say, I don't need anyone. Instead, it says, I'm strong enough on my own, and that's why I can truly connect with others. It's about being whole so that your relationships are built on mutual respect, not dependence. And that's what makes it so attractive. It's grounded, balanced, and quietly powerful to cultivate this habit. Start by reflecting on your values. Ask yourself, am I living according to what truly matters to me, or am I being driven by what others expect of me? Independence begins when you start making choices aligned with your inner compass rather than external pressures. Spend time alone, not out of loneliness, but to reconnect with who you are, whether it's taking a walk, journaling, or simply sitting in silence. These moments strengthen your sense of self. When you cultivate authentic independence, you don't have to seek attention. It finds you. People will notice the calm confidence in your presence, the quiet assurance in your actions, and the unwavering strength in your character. You won't need to be the loudest in the room to be noticed. You'll be respected because you've built a life that reflects who you truly are. And that's something rare and deeply attractive. Embracing your independence doesn't mean you don't value relationships. It means you value yourself enough to build connections based on neediness. And that's what makes you silently magnetic. It's not loud. It's not flashy. It's the kind of confidence that lingers, leaves an impression, and quietly inspires others to do the same. Habit 2, master the art of silent elegance. Sometimes the most powerful statement is made without words. Silent elegance is the ability to carry yourself with grace, poise, and quiet confidence in every situation. It's about how you move, how you interact, and the energy you project. You don't need to dominate conversations or be the loudest person in the room to command attention. Silent elegance speaks for itself. It's subtle, refined, and endlessly captivating. Think about someone who walks into a room with a calm, assured presence. They don't have to announce themselves. Yet people can't help but notice them. This is the essence of silent elegance. It's a combination of composure, thoughtful actions, and respectful behavior. The way you carry yourself creates a lasting impression, often more powerful than anything you could say. It starts with body language. Confidence isn't just in your words, it's in how you stand, how you walk, and how you hold yourself. A relaxed, upright posture with steady eye contact shows self-assurance without arrogance. You don't need exaggerated movements or nervous gestures. Simplicity is key. When your body language communicates calm and control, people are naturally drawn to you. Silent elegance is also reflected in your manners, courteous behavior, greeting others warmly, listening attentively, and being mindful of how you treat those around you shows respect and self-respect. It's not about being overly formal or distant. It's about bringing a quiet grace to your interactions. People remember how you make them feel, and silent elegance leaves them feeling respected and valued. Beyond body language and sentiment, Munner silent elegance is about restraint in a world full of noise. The ability to stay calm and composed, especially in challenging situations, is rare. When others lose their cool, staying collected gives you a quiet power. You don't need to react impulsively or engage in unnecessary conflicts. Instead, you respond thoughtfully, showing that you're in control of yourself, not controlled by the moment. The Stoics believe deeply in the power of composure. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." True elegance lies in that calm, when your actions are deliberate, your words measured, and your presence steady. People trust and respect those who remain grounded even when everything around them feels chaotic. To cultivate silent elegance, start small, pay attention to how you carry yourself throughout the day. Are you rushing, tense, or overly reactive? Practice slowing down, standing tall, and breathing deeply. Notice how you interact with others. Are you truly listening or just waiting for your turn to speak? Silent elegance grows from mindfulness, being fully present in your interactions and thoughtful in your responses. Next, work on refinement. Elegance doesn't mean perfection. It means striving to bring your best self forward, whether it's dressing with subtle style, speaking with clarity, or approaching situations with grace. It's the small, consistent efforts that build an aura of quiet sophistication. Silent elegance isn't about pretending to be something you're not. It's about embracing who you are with calm confidence. It's about showing up fully, not to impress, but to bring your best energy into every interaction. Over time, people will begin to associate you with a sense of calm, respect, and poise. They may not be able to explain why, but they'll feel it. And that's what makes silent elegance so powerful. It leaves a lasting impression without demanding attention. Mastering the art of silent elegance allows you to walk through life with dignity and quiet strength. You don't have to seek admiration. It follows naturally. And in that quiet grace, you become someone who not only stands out, but leaves others inspired to carry themselves with a little more calm, a little more respect, and a little more elegance. Habit 3, the subtle scent of sophistication. Sometimes the smallest details leave the biggest impressions. The subtle scent of sophistication is one of those quiet, often overlooked aspects that can make you irresistibly attractive. It's not about overwhelming those around you. It's about leaving a faint, refined impression that lingers in their mind. A well-chosen scent reflects attention to detail, personal care, and a quiet sense of elegance, all of which contribute to silent attractiveness. Think about it. How many times have you remembered someone simply because of their scent? It's one of the most powerful, instinctive senses we have. A subtle, pleasant scent creates an aura of sophistication without requiring a single word. It's an understated way of saying, I take care of myself, I value the details, and it's in those details that true silent attraction is cultivated. But this isn't just about where in cologne or perfume sophistication through scent is about. Balance overpowering fragrances can be off-putting. But a light, refined scent, whether it's a signature fragrance or even the clean, fresh smell of well-maintained hygiene, can make people naturally want to be closer to you. It communicates that you pay attention not just to how you appear, but to the unseen details that complete your presence. The art of scent goes beyond smell. It's about what it represents. Taking the time to choose a scent that resonates with your personality shows a level of self-awareness and intentionality, whether it's something woody fresh or subtly sweet. Your scent should reflect the calm, composed energy you carry. It should enhance your presence, not overpower it. But beyond fragrance, sophistication is also reflected in how you care for yourself overall. Personal care, cleanliness, grooming, and thoughtful attention to your appearance silently speaks volumes about your self-respect. It's not about vanity. It's about showing that you value yourself enough to present your best self to the world. This quiet confidence reflected in the smallest details creates a lasting impression. The Stone believed that how you present yourself externally should align with your inner values. Seneca said, "Let your outward appearance be simple and dignified, reflecting the serenity of your mind by cultivating a subtle, refined presence through scent and personal care. You project an image of someone who is calm, composed, and mindful, not through words, but through action." To embody this habit, start by being mindful of your self-care routine. Choose a scent that feels authentic to you, something that enhances rather than defines your presence. Pay attention to the small details: clean, well-groomed hair, fresh breath, and a polished look. These aren't grand gestures, but they quietly speak to those around you, creating an aura of quiet sophistication. Remember, silent attraction isn't about trying to stand out. It's about being effortlessly memorable, and scent, when used with subtlety and care, is one of the most powerful ways to achieve that. It's a quiet signature that leaves a lasting mark, something people associate with you long after you've left the room. Mastering the subtle scent of sophistication is about more than fragrance. It's about the quiet message it sends. I take pride in who I am. I care about the details. I respect myself. And that message delivered without a single word is what makes you silently, irresistibly attractive. Habit for being fully present in a world full of distractions. There's something undeniably captivating about someone who is truly present. Being fully present isn't just about showing up physically. It's about giving your undivided attention to the moment and the people you're with. This quiet yet powerful habit makes you stand out, not because you demand attention, but because you offer something increasingly rare, genuine connection. We've all experienced it, the frustration of talking to someone who's only half listening, their eyes darting to their phone, or their mind clearly elsewhere. It feels dismissive, as if your words don't matter. On the other hand, when someone is fully engaged, when they're looking you in the eye, listening without interrupting and responding thoughtfully, it feels different. You feel heard, respected, and valued. That's the silent power of presence. It draws people in by making them feel important. Being fully present isn't about perfection. It's about intention. It means resisting the urge to check your phone every few minutes or mentally rehearse what you're going to say next. It's about immersing yourself in the conversation, focusing on the other person's words, and responding with genuine curiosity. When you master this habit, you create deeper, more meaningful connections because people don't just remember what you say, they remember how you make them feel. Stoic philosophy emphasizes living in the present moment. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." The Stoics believed that true strength and wisdom come from engaging fully with the here and now, not being trapped in the past or lost in the future. When you're present, you're in control of your mind, your emotions, and your interactions, making you someone others naturally respect and gravitate toward. Being present also means observing without judgment. It's about noticing the subtleties, the emotions behind someone's words, the mood of a room, or the unspoken cues in a conversation. This level of awareness makes you more perceptive, empathetic, and socially intelligent, and social intelligence combined with genuine presence makes you quietly irresistible. To cultivate this habit, start by practicing mindfulness in everyday moments. Whether you're having a conversation, eating a meal, or walking outside, focus entirely on the experience. Put away distractions. Listen more than you speak. When you're fully present, you radiate calm, confidence, and care, qualities that make people feel safe and valued around you. Presence is magnetic because it's so rare in a world constantly vying for attention. Someone who offers their undivided focus stands out not by trying to be noticed, but by making others feel seen. When you give someone your full attention, you communicate without saying a word. You matter. And that's a message people never forget. Being fully present isn't about grand gestures. It's about small, consistent moments of connection. It's about showing up not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. When you master this habit, you'll notice how people naturally open up to you, how conversations become richer, and how your relationships deepen effortlessly. Presence creates trust. Trust creates attraction. And attraction, when built on respect and genuine connection, is both and powerful in a noisy world. Be the person who listens, be the person who's fully there. You'll be surprised how magnetic you become, not because you're demanding attention, but because your quiet focus makes others feel truly seen and appreciated. That's the kind of silent attractiveness that leaves a lasting impression. Habit 5, a touch of mystery. In a world where oversharing has become the norm, there's something profoundly attractive about someone who keeps a part of themselves private. A touch of mystery is not about being distant or secretive. It's about holding back just enough to spark curiosity. It's about knowing when to share and when to leave things unsaid, creating an air of intrigue that quietly draws people in. Mystery is powerful because it leaves room for others to wonder. When you reveal everything about yourself all at once, there's nothing left to discover. But when you keep certain aspects of your life private, you invite others to want to learn more. This isn't manipulation. It's the natural allure of the unknown. People are wired to be curious. And when you cultivate a bit of mystery, you become someone they want to understand better. But being mysterious doesn't mean being fake or playing games. It's about being selective with what you share. You don't have to broadcast every detail of your life or explain every decision you make. Instead, focus on sharing what feels meaningful while keeping other parts of your life personal. When you strike this balance, You come across as confident, self-assured, and quietly captivating. The Stoics believed in the value of self-restraint, knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. Epictetus taught, "Be silent or let your words be worth more than silence." Mystery works in the same way. It's not about withholding for the sake of withholding. It's about offering value when you speak. And knowing when silence speaks louder, cultivating mystery isn't just about words. It's about your actions too. Leave people guessing a little. Don't always explain why you do what you do. When you make a bold decision, let your actions speak for themselves. This quiet confidence signals that you don't need validation. You're content with letting your life unfold without constant explanation. Another way to create a touch of mystery is by living a layered life. Be the kind of person who has depth, interests, passions, and values that aren't immediately obvious. When people get to know you, they should feel like they're peeling back layers, discovering new facets of who you are over time. This makes interactions with you more engaging, more memorable, and more meaningful. To embrace mystery, start by asking yourself, am I oversharing to seek validation, or am I sharing what truly matters? The goal isn't to become distant, it's to become intentional. Share enough to build trust and connection, but hold back enough to leave room for curiosity. Let people earn the right to know your deeper stories. This not only protects your personal space, but also makes those connections more rewarding when you cultivate a touch of mystery. People won't be able to put you into a box. You'll remain intriguing, someone they can't quite figure out yet, someone they want to be around. Mystery invites attention without demanding it. It keeps people coming back, wanting to learn more, to understand you on a deeper level in a world where most people are an open book. Be the person who offers just a glimpse of the story. Let them wonder, let them imagine. That touch of mystery combined with quiet confidence creates an irresistible presence, one that lingers in their minds long after you've left the room. Habit 6, cultivate cultural wisdom. There's something undeniably attractive about a person who carries themselves with quiet confidence and a broad understanding of the world around them. Cultivating cultural wisdom means developing an open mind, embracing diverse perspectives, and enriching your conversations with insight that goes beyond the surface. It's not about showing off how much you know. It's about being someone who listens, learns, and offers thoughtful perspectives when the moment calls for it. Cultural wisdom isn't limited to knowing facts about different countries or speaking multiple languages. It's about being curious about people's experiences, traditions, and viewpoints. It shows that you're someone who doesn't live in a bubble, but actively seeks to understand the world. Beyond your immediate environment, this broad awareness adds depth to your character, making you someone who can engage meaningfully in any conversation people are drawn to, those who make them feel seen, heard, and understood. When you cultivate cultural wisdom, you become that person. You develop empathy for different ways of life, which allows you to connect with people from all walks of life. This quiet understanding makes you approachable and respected without the need to dominate a conversation. Instead of imposing your views, you offer insights that invite reflection and dialogue. The Stoics believed in the importance of understanding the world and one's place in it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Look beneath the surface, let not the outward appearances mislead you." Cultivating cultural wisdom allows you to look deeper, not just at people, but at life itself. It gives you the ability to navigate complex social situations with ease because you're not rigid in your thinking. You've learned to see things from multiple angles, which makes you adaptable, thoughtful, and quietly compelling to develop cultural wisdom. Start by broadening your horizons. Read books that challenge your perspectives. Engage in conversations with people who have different experiences from your own. Travel if you can, or explore new cultures through documentaries and online resources. The goal isn't to become a walking encyclopedia, it's to become someone who appreciates the richness of human experience. Another key aspect of cultural wisdom is listening without judgment. When someone shares their views, resist the urge to immediately agree or disagree. Instead, seek to understand their perspective. Ask thoughtful questions. Show that you're genuinely interested in learning, not just waiting for your turn to speak. This approach not only deepens your understanding, but also makes people feel valued in your presence. Being knowledgeable doesn't mean you have to dominate a conversation. In fact, the most attractive individuals are those who know when to speak and when to listen. When you do share, do so with humility and authenticity. Offer insights not to impress, but to enrich the conversation. People respect those who contribute meaningfully without turning every interaction into a lecture. Ask yourself, am I open to learning from every person I meet? Cultivating cultural wisdom is less about how much you know and more about how willing you are to learn. When you embody this mindset, you radiate a quiet intelligence that draws people in, not because you're trying to be impressive, but because you genuinely care about understanding the world and the people in it. People are naturally attracted to those who bring depth to a conversation, who offer perspectives that make them think. By cultivating cultural wisdom, you become someone whose presence is both calming and intellectually stimulating. You'll find that people seek your company not because you're loud, but because your quiet, thoughtful nature leaves a lasting impression in a world where opinions are often loud and shallow. Be the person who speaks with depth and grace. Cultivate wisdom, not for show, but for the richness it brings to your life, and quietly watch as people are drawn to the calm ground ed energy you exude. That's the silent power of cultural wisdom. It makes you not just attractive, but unforgettable. Habit 7, the heartbeat of compassion in a fast-paced world where everyone is rushing, pausing to show genuine empathy and kindness sets you apart. Compassion isn't loud, it's quiet, yet profoundly impactful. It's the silent heartbeat that makes people feel safe, understood, and valued in your presence. While many try to win others over by being charming or impressive, true attraction comes from being someone who listens, cares, and offers warmth without expectation. Compassion isn't about grand gestures. It's found in the little things, a thoughtful word, a kind smile, a patient ear when someone needs to be heard. When you demonstrate compassion, you radiate a quiet strength that draws people in. Why? Because genuine kindness is rare in a world where so many interactions are transactional. Being someone who gives without expecting anything in return makes you stand out in the most profound way. People are naturally attracted to those who make them feel understood, not judged. Compassion creates a bridge. It allows you to connect with others on an emotional level, fostering trust and closeness. It's not about fixing people's problems or always having the right answers. It's about being present and showing that you care. And that simple act of presence leaves a lasting impression, far more powerful than words. The Stoics, often perceived as advocates for emotional detachment, actually emphasized empathy and kindness as essential virtues. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." Stoic compassion isn't about being soft. It's about understanding the struggles of others while maintaining inner strength. When you approach life with this mindset, you become someone others feel drawn to, not because you solve their problems, but because your presence offers calm and comforting. Cultivating compassion doesn't mean letting others take advantage of you. It's about finding a balance, being kind but not a pushover, being empathetic but not absorbing everyone's burdens. Compassion starts with listening, not to respond, but to understand. When someone shares something with you, give them your full attention. Resist the urge to offer immediate solutions or advice. Sometimes all people need is to feel heard. Compassion also means being patient with others and with yourself. No one is perfect. And life is messy. When you show patience in difficult moments, you demonstrate emotional maturity. a trait that is quietly attractive. People remember those who remained calm and supportive when things got tough. They may not say it aloud, but they'll carry that memory with them. And that's what makes you, silently magnetic. Ask yourself, am I someone who makes others feel seen and valued? If the answer isn't always yes, that's okay. Compassion is a habit that can be cultivated over time. Start by being kind to yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup. So take care of your own emotional well-being first. When you're patient and compassionate with yourself, it becomes easy. To offer that same kindness to others. Being compassionate doesn't require you to be perfect. It doesn't mean you always have to have the right words or actions. It simply means being there, being real, and being kind. And that quiet kindness, it leaves an impact that words can't. It's what makes people remember you. Not because you dazzled them, but because you made them feel valued in a world that often overlooks the importance of empathy. In the end, the heartbeat of compassion isn't about changing the world. It's about changing how you show up in it. Be the person who listens more than they speak, who offers kindness without expectation, and who remains patient in moments of frustration. Silent attraction isn't about noise. It's about presence, and compassion offered quietly and sincerely is one of the most powerful forms of presence there is. Habit 8, laughter and joy. Few things are as universally attractive as someone who radiates genuine joy and knows how to laugh with ease. Laughter is a universal connector, breaking down barriers and making even the most serious situations feel lighter when you cultivate the habit of finding joy, in life's moments, big or small. You become someone others naturally want to be around. Why? Because your presence brings a sense of warmth and lightness that's both refreshing and magnetic. Life is full of challenges, and everyone faces their share of struggles. But when you develop the ability to find humor, even in difficult situations, you show resilience, a trait that quietly commands respect. It's not about being the loudest person in the room or the center of attention. It's about carrying an inner sense of joy that makes those around you feel at ease. People are drawn to those who can lift the energy of a room without trying too hard. Those who can find something to smile about even when things aren't perfect. Stoicism, often thought of as a philosophy of